Okay, well, we are a couple minutes past the hour. A couple more people are trickling in, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Hello, Lori. Thanks for joining in. Um, so, welcome to the IT Security 101 training. I believe most of the people who are in this room and most of the people who have registered have attended this training before, but we keep it updated. We've got some new things, some things you're going to recognize. This All of our registrations this week for the first time are well known to us. So we've got our fan club. So I'm going to save the introductions. I'm Shane. You know David. Uh, we have the Grubhub gift cards for lunch after the training today. Um, the other thing that I wanted to mention was to please have your phone handy. Some of you may have seen our new question and answer system. So you'll see that in a little bit, scanning a QR code, and we'll have some questions for you. Just make sure you're paying attention. Make sure we got the attendance straight. Um, Brianna is on the call as well. You know her as the gift card queen. She will be sending those out during the presentation. So thank you, Brianna. And without further ado, let's get started. So what is security? As a reminder, we're talking about information security. So we want to prevent unauthorized access, use, disclosure, disruption, modification, inspection, recording, destruction of information. Hackers have their own priorities when it comes to getting the data that is the most valuable to them and is the most damaging for you. So they want your financial data, they want your personal information, they want your identity, and they want your contacts. And they want your contacts because they want to be able to spread their attack as widely as possible. Personally identifiable information, PII. Examples of those are there on the right. IP address, driver's license, physical address. More specific things like your passport, your credit card. Really, it's anything that can identify you as you. And why should we care? The percent of cyber attacks against businesses is almost 50-50 split between large businesses and small businesses. Oh, and hello, Jenny. Thank you for joining in. They're still leaning more towards large businesses, right? 57% versus 43% for SMBs. But it's almost that 50-50. There's no more excuse of saying, well, I'm not a big enough target, right? They're going after the 3-person operation and the 5,000 person operation. An SMB data breach, average cost is $200,000. 60% of businesses fail within 6 months of ransomware. So I'll say that again, 60% of small businesses fail within 6 months of a ransomware attack. That's not just the cost of paying the ransom, right? Say they demand a ransom of $100,000. You might look at the average cost, say, okay, $200,000. Well, my insurance could cover that. But what it doesn't always cover is the damage to your reputation, the damage to your ability to fulfill orders, to satisfy customers. If you are an operation that typically has a 2-week turnaround time for your product or service, and you get hit with an attack that turns that into 8 weeks because all your technology is down, well, your customers might need to say, well, I need that 2-week turnaround time. I'm going to go to a competitor. So that's where those costs add up, and that timeline of 6 months, that's where that comes into play. And the human element, right? We talk about this a lot. Most attacks come from outside your domain, right? It's a external hacker trying to get in. Not as frequently. It does happen in internal employee acting maliciously. Most breaches, though, are the result of internal human error, right? It's clicking on that phishing link that you're not supposed to click on. It's accidentally downloading something that you're not supposed to, because you just made a mistake. And the only defense against those mistakes is education, right? We say that all the time. So that's why we do these webinars just about monthly, to make sure we are educating everybody that we can. So Dave's going to talk a little bit more about the human firewall.
Right. Yeah. So we all know what all the fancy security networking firewalls are. So the human firewall is what we refer to as everybody in the organization being well educated and well trained on how to stop these sort of attacks. So social engineering is classically and still today the most popular way to gain and data needed to gain access to all of your PII and all that sort of important data that you want to keep safe. So it's using psychology to trick people into granting access so that they can steal information. So you're giving up the things that they need because they sound like they're somebody they're not. So they'll be common tactics below. You can see they'll research social media, they'll research the business, they'll research org charts, they'll know everything about your business, who's in it, who the people are, what maybe all their emails are if those lists are publicly available, and they often are. We put that stuff out there for it to be easy to figure out, who do I need to contact in this business, and the hackers are happy to use that information to know who they need to sound like in that business to get stuff done. And they use scare tactics, act now or else. It's always what I always like to say is they try to get you to act before you can think. And that's why we focus so much on that education. So you're thinking and going, wait, hold on, something about this doesn't sound right. And when you hit that red flag in your brain, then you stop and you think about it and you go, yep, nope, I know how to safely proceed here. It happens over email, over the phone, in person. We've all received a ton of phishing emails and spam emails and things like that, pretending to be somebody else. Not all of us have received phone calls or in person, but we know these attacks are happening, and we've heard about, I believe Lee Shinnok has not been one of the ones, knock on wood, that people have tried to impersonate our employees at our clients' offices, but it definitely has happened to other businesses. So here's the in-person attack. If you've got a visitor that comes in and you're not sure who they are, they don't have an appointment, maybe they say they're from a well-known vendor, they could be from UPS, they could be from FedEx, they could be from Lee Shinnok. They can very easily obtain a uniform or a t-shirt or one of our nice Lee Shinnok polo shirts. Those can be recreated. It's real easy to get shirts made. It's real easy to get uniforms like that made. A lot of those come from standard places. And you can just ask them to put logos on stuff and they'll do it. That's their business model. So the scammers can easily look like that. The question is, do they have the appointment? Do they have the ticket? Do you know that they're coming? Are those deliveries scheduled? Are they just dropping something off? Or are they trying to get into the building to do things that you're not quite sure that they should do? So if any point any of that raises red flags with you, you don't think they should be there, they don't have an appointment, or they're asking for a little more than maybe just dropping off something that a package or something if they're clothed as a delivery person. Check their credentials. Ask for their business card. Don't call any or don't reach out to any contact information they give you. Look up their official contact info for whatever service they say they're from. Reach out to them. Call Brianna if they say they're with Lee Shinnok and you're not sure they have an appointment. She will confirm all of that. And just get that verification directly from the source. And we're going to reiterate that concept over and over again. If you're not sure, go straight to the source that you know is legitimate and ask them.
Okay, so unattended devices. What do you do when you get up from your desk and leave? Well, if you've seen this training before, you know we need you to lock your PC down. Some of us will have a timer set for a few minutes that it'll lock if you forget this Windows L command if you're on a Windows PC. Some of us just leave our PCs open in broad daylight. If you do that, anybody who's in the building can access your information, or they can just take a picture of whatever's on the screen. Uh, Even more frustrating, they can delete the file that you're working on without saving. So what we do in our office sort of informally is we play a game where if somebody gets up, goes to the bathroom, whatever, gets a drink of water, they don't lock their PC down as they're leaving, we'll run in and change the desktop background. So there are a lot of photos of Shane giving a big stupid smile on the background of Lee Shinnok PCs. Sometimes I like to do a Shrek lounging on the Windows XP background, so we can do lots of fun stuff. Oh yeah, thank you, David. If there are any questions, yeah, please feel free to type those in the chat. We'll also have some time for questions at the end. Um, for those that joined a little bit late, one request was to please have your phone handy. We're going to have some questions here coming up that you can answer using your phone. Speaking of which, if you go ahead and scan that QR code with your phone's camera app, and I'm going to do it along with you, make sure that it works. It should take you to a website that I'm going to share here now.
Looks like it's asking for a passcode chain.
Well, somehow I'm going to have to share my screen and get you that passcode. There we go. Is that share working?
Yes.
Okay, so that VPPDDF should get us in. Okay, here we go. What percentage of small businesses fail within 6 months of a ransomware attack? Let's see, I'm seeing 4 or 5 participants in so far. There's a clear favorite. Oh, 40%. Okay, okay. Maybe, maybe. Okay, I think just about everybody has come in. Oh, there we go. We got one more. Again, if you could please participate, this helps with attendance. I don't always get what I need from the WebEx attendance report. So we just want to make sure that we get you the gift card because you attended, you earned it. Enjoy lunch on us. So the majority of you, yes, you got it right. 60%. That is correct. More than half of small businesses fail within 6 months of a ransomware attack. Um, just a question to make sure you're paying attention. The next ones get a little bit more involved. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this, and we'll get back to the presentation. And go ahead and leave that up on your phone. It should stay in place for the next question that we have. Okay, David, teach us about passwords.
All righty. Yeah, passwords, they've been around forever, and unfortunately, it's still hard to be good at them because the flags for passwords keep moving, the goalpost. So, yeah, hackers love weak passwords. Right there, 80% of data breaches are caused by weak, reused, or stolen passwords. Yeah. How many people here, if you want to use the little raise hand thing, reuse the same password on multiple websites? I know I do it occasionally. This is something we're trying to eliminate entirely among everybody. So how are we going to do that? We'll get to that in a second.
Yeah, anybody who hasn't raised their hand is they're either not paying attention or they're lying. Because everybody does this.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, thank you. Yes, I see. Yep. Raising your hand. Yes, yes. A lot of us do this. Commit the sin.
Absolutely. Okay, so what defines a weak password? So this right here is a fun chart that you can track your passwords on and see just how long it would take a hacker to brute force your passwords. So say they cracked into a website, stole a database of passwords. Now those passwords are encrypted or hashed, as they say. So they don't just get them usually. Sometimes websites don't do that, and in that case, they just have your password. But in this case, if your password was, say, just to point at a certain part of the screen, 10 characters long, used numbers, uppercase and lowercase letters, no symbols, it would take them 3 weeks to crack it. And that's just using some of the latest tools. And of course, that's a 2022 chart, so it may be just a little out of date. Imagine, again, like we said, the goalposts keep moving for this as computers get more powerful and better at running math. It takes less time to do this. So we want to aim for kind of that yellow, the green, or at least the orange. I guess 3,000 years would be a good time if you've got a 12-character password with all the numbers, upper and lowercase letters and symbols. But yeah, we want to shoot for something that'll be not just good for now, but good in a bit, because as we know, those numbers keep moving down. If I look at that chart from a few years ago, it looks that red is pushed way back into the purple. But yeah, just keeps getting easier and easier to crack passwords. So how do you make a password that is in that green or yellow zone, but that you can still remember? And this is the tricky part, because as we well know, the passwords that are hard for computers to crack are usually hard to remember. But right here, we got a fun trick that I've been using for years to make passwords that I can recall in my brain and that computers just see as a bunch of gibberish that they can't crack into. So let's take an easy to remember phrase, try to tie it to whatever you're logging into. This works if you've got a lot of different websites or services that you're logging into that you can remember a mnemonic phrase for each one. You want to make sure that phrase is a certain length. That's going to get you with adding some numbers and letters to the desired length that you need there. Remember, length is now kind of the most important thing. It's good to have all those extra letters and numbers and symbols, but really it needs to be that certain length. We're looking for maybe at least 12. Pushing past that would be even better. So right here, there's a key phrase I'm going to take. Lee Shanok Network Solutions is the best IT provider in the world. Simple sentence that I could remember. And we've been open since 1997. So right there, we've got that Lee Shanok Network Solutions is the best IT provider in the world. I just took the first letter off of each one of those words in that. So all I have to do is remember the phrase, hit the first letter on all of those, and then add an exclamation mark because I'm excited about that, and the year that we were open, 97. And bam, right there, I've got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 character password with all the bells and whistles, and yet it's something that I can easily conjure up in my own brain. So pick your own phrase, whether it's a sentence that you'd associate, can be a poem, can be a song lyrics, can be anything that you want there, can be your favorite limerick. Commit that to memory, take all the first letters off of it, and you've got a very uncrackable password that's easy to remember. So there's my password tip for the day. And of course, as we know, having to commit 100 of those to memory to get into all the websites that you may have accounts on does present a pretty impossible feat. So you could maybe keep a few of those, a handful of those in memory, but it gets to the point where you have to start finding a good way to get just the massive amounts of accounts and things like that remembered without putting the mental burden on you. And that's where things like a password manager come in handy. So the way these work is you just have one central password that logs you into these, and it keeps track of the rest of them for you. And it can even generate super uncrackable, super complicated ones that you'd never have a chance of remembering yourself, but that's okay because it does it for you. And it'll plug into your web browser a lot of the times. It'll plug into your phone. It usually won't do both unless you start paying a few bucks a month, but that's okay because it is worth it to not have to remember all of those and to still have them secured and not reused across sites. So yeah, you can see here's some of the most popular ones: Keeper, LastPass, Dashlane. We've started really plugging into Keeper as an organization there. But yeah, any of these are going to be good options there on that list on the left. And you can check the features down there, figure out which one of those you want, and then do a little bit of shopping around with those ones on the left. Most of those will have all or most of those features, and if you have something specific you have in mind, check them out on the internet, do the shopping, figure out your favorite one, and grab it and start using it. All right. And company password manager. So like I said, we've started sticking to Keeper because it has all of the features that we wanted, which was kind of the ability to manage it centrally as an IT company. So we deploy it, and then we can do things like seeing access logs, seeing when people are logging in, seeing from what IP they're logging in, so we can see if there are outside people trying to crack into somebody's password manager. User reporting, temporary access abilities, things like that, that'll let you push a password that you have saved in yours temporarily out to somebody and then cut off that access after a certain while. Password strength reporting. We can see who's using the weak passwords, and then we can ask them to change them or update them. Secure password generator, of course, to make the super complicated ones. Role department-based access. We can have lists of passwords that are accessible by certain groups of people. And of course, two-factor authentication, which we're going to talk about in a bit, is our new favorite security feature. What about web browsers? I know we've been over this 100 times, but do not save passwords in your web browser. If somebody gets onto your computer, it is super simple to just pop those right out of the browser. They don't encrypt them well. They don't really keep them safe, like a password manager would, either a desktop one or one of the more app-based ones. Just don't. It's really not a secure way to keep passwords saved at all. All right, so here's your new password strategy. You only have to remember 3 passwords: your computer login, your personal password manager, and your company password manager. And if you can come up with a mnemonic phrase for all 3 of those, you are golden. So that is the new way that we want to do passwords, where you have to remember a few of them. You've got a cool trick for doing so, and your password managers will handle the rest. All right, and
Okay.
knowledge check.
Yeah, true or false. It would take a hacker over 200 years to brute force a 9-character password with mixed letters, numbers, and symbols. Let me go ahead and open that up. Okay, did that open on your all's end? Yes. Okay, we got one true, 2 false. Let's see. Oh, there we are. Ooh, false is outweighing the trues. Okay, I think there's just a couple more. 30 seconds. Lots of people going with the crowd. Last chance. I know there's one more out there. You haven't put it in yet. There it is. Okay. Most of you are correct. That is false. Can anybody, for bonus points, can anybody tell me either in the chat, unmute themselves, how long it would take based on that color-coded chart that David was showing? I'd be really, really impressed if you knew. No, okay. 2 days, 48 hours. It takes 2 days to crack what you would normally think of as a relatively strong password. Many websites, their baseline requirements for a password is 8 characters with mixed letters, numbers, and symbols. You got to have at least one symbol, at least one capital letter, at least one number. Um, that password, sort of the standard website password, crackable in 2 days if it ever gets compromised. So it's really important to go a little extra step farther. Use the method that David recommended, or even better, use that password manager. Okay, let's get back to it. Multi-factor authentication, MFA. So this should look familiar to a lot of folks. Multi-factor authentication is a combination of what you know plus what you have or what you are and you are in. So this is one little change we made to this presentation. We weren't doing a good job of explaining the what you are portion. So what you know is typically a username and password. What you have is typically a smartphone that's using an authenticator app, or you're getting a text message. What you are is typically a biometric. So your phone, when you're using your thumbprint or your Face ID, to get in. Retina scans, all of those are combinations of what you are. So those two factors combined give you a successful login. Most of your online accounts support multi-factor authentication, especially when they're handling secure data. So our recommendation is always any account that you have, maybe when you're setting up your new password manager, also go in and enable that multi-factor authentication. They're going to either give you the option to enter your phone numbers, so they send you a text, or they'll have a process in place to use an authenticator app. And there's a ton of them. We use Duo Security a lot at Leash with our clients, but there's also Google Authenticator, Microsoft, there's a ton of them. They all add an extra layer. Why do we recommend them? Because they work very, very, very well. So the Google stats on them are blocking basically anywhere between well, 100% of bots, 95% plus of bulk phishing, and 76% of targeted attacks, or if you use the push notification through an app versus a text message, 90% of targeted attacks. Now, because they work so well, hackers have developed some very effective scams to get around them. So you want to be on the lookout for any unexpected push notifications from your Authenticator app, like this middle example here. Are you logging in? Well, if you're not logging in, don't approve it. Unexpected text codes. If the service sends you a 6-digit code as a text message and you're not logging in, there's a good chance that somebody has compromised your password, but they have not been able to bypass the multi-factor authentication piece. So if you see those unexpected notifications pop up, change the password for that service. Now, what hackers are doing is, because they are able to get a lot of data about all of us, they are logging in, then they will call you on the phone and say, hey, this is Shane from Bank of America. We noticed some suspicious activity on your account. We just sent you a confirmation code. Could you please read that to me and I can verify the activity? Very natural calling script. If you were caught off guard, you might not think, wait, what is this? You never, ever, ever, ever want to give your code to anyone. It's exclusive to only you. Anybody who's asking for it is trying to rip you off. Okay, Wi-Fi.
Alrighty, so let's talk about free Wi-Fi, which occasionally is something we have to do. So you're out and about in the world, you got to connect at a hotel, at an airport, at a restaurant, at a Starbucks. Yeah, sometimes you just need to pop onto those. We do recommend avoiding it whenever possible, but we understand that we live in the real world where sometimes things are a necessity. So, if you see a lot of networks like that on the left there, it happens oftentimes, especially in airports, I found are the worst offenders, but definitely it can be anywhere. You'll see that big list of a bunch of different networks, and you're not sure which is which. So the best thing to do is ask the staff for the correct network. They'll always know. If it's a password protected one, all the better. That usually means that, that's something only you'll have access to if you get the code on your receipt or if you ask the staff, and they will help you out with that. Most of the time, people trying to steal your information aren't going to put a password on it because they want you to connect. And if you connect to a rogue network, something like that somebody has set up to imitate a regular restaurant or hotel network, yeah, the kind of things they can do a man-in-the-middle attack, where they will put in fake websites or notifications in your normal browsing, steal your information, and then redirect you to the regular site without you even noticing that your credentials may have been taken in the middle. Packet sniffing, where they can read all data sent across the network that is not encrypted. And their goal with that is to steal your password, steal your credentials, steal your PII, see what you're doing, and see if they can maybe take something from that. So, like we said, best practices, don't use it when you need to, unless you need to. Use a VPN if at all possible. Use your cellular data if you can. Cell hotspots are a lot more secure than the public Wi-Fi, although we do know sometimes those can be too slow to work on. and disable any auto joining of public Wi-Fi networks on your phones and devices, because you do not want to connect to those automatically unless you are meaning to do it. Cool. Let's talk about corporate Wi-Fi. So the best thing to do with your work Wi-Fi is to create a separated staff network and a guest network. Password protect both, but make sure that the guests cannot see anything going on with any other computer in the network. When we set up corporate Wi-Fi for any of our clients, that's the first thing we do is say guest network is pretty much just you straight to the internet and you can't see anything else in the rest of the network. And then the staff Wi-Fi will be either password protected, or even better, what we can do is set up a radius server, which is a device that will connect your Wi-Fi authentication to your network or domain authentication. And so therefore, the same credentials that you use to log into your computer will be the ones that you use to log into the Wi-Fi. The benefit of this is that nobody has to remember the Wi-Fi password. And if you have employees joining the company and leaving the company, you don't have to change the password so that former employees could potentially have access to the Wi-Fi using the old password if you haven't changed it since they left. So they only use their credentials, which they know, and then once they leave, you terminate their domain account, and they are not able to access those resources again. So that is the safest and most efficient way to do it.
Okay, working remotely. David and I are working from home today. Brianna, she got the short end of the stick. She has to go into the office. Sorry. But how do you work remotely? We set up most of our clients who have remote work environments. We set them up with VPNs and remote connections into their work PCs. What we want to avoid is people accessing company information, company data, manipulating company data on personal devices. Those may not always be managed as securely. Things can get lost in the shuffle. People can save information that maybe they shouldn't be saving onto their personal PCs. So you want to have policies in place to make sure that when you're working from home, you're connecting to that PC that you have on a desk in at work, or in addition to, or at the very least, make sure that you're connected to the company network via a VPN. So best practice for VPN access is to set up the VPN with multi-factor authentication. That way, if your personal device is compromised, but they didn't get your phone, they got your laptop, they can't log in to the VPN. They need the password and the approval from the phone. So VPNs are just that encrypted tunnel. Basically, it connects your device to the company network, just as if you were working in the office. And David's going to talk about email phishing.
Alrighty, email phishing, like social engineering, is still another one of the most popular modern ways to get access to your networks and your data. So, yeah, we all get tons of phishing and spam and emails like that, and they are crafting them better and better these days to look like the real deal. So, let's go over a lot of the telltale signs that you're going to want to look out for when you get an email that you're not sure if it's legitimate or not. So, first of all, number one there, the email doesn't look like it came from the actual source. So you can see ASOS there is I believe, a British clothing retailer. And if you look at that URL there, you would expect it to be at asos.net or asos.com or something coming from the domain of the actual retailer. But in this case, it's shop.as0s at s1231.net. It's some different domain or something. You'll see that a lot if it looks like it's coming from a corporation, but it's got a Gmail or a very easily publicly made email address, something like that. Wait a minute, that's not legitimate. They just made a free email on this site and labeled it something else, which is real easy to do. You can create an email account, name it after anybody in a company, and then send off emails there, and just double check the email if you're not sure it's from them. And if it doesn't look like their work email or a corporate email, disregard it and delete it. Fear and urgency. Or temptation and greed. Those are kind of the pulls that they're going to use. Claim your gift card or your account will be deactivated. There's always some consequence that's designed to make you, like I say, act before you can think. So just make sure you are spotting those red flags, stopping and thinking about it before you click on anything, open anything, or hit any links. Weird attachments right there. You can see that gift-card-redemption.exe. We know exe are dangerous. Those are executable files that can start up programs, that can install viruses, that can run code on your computer. HTML attachments or HTM attachments, those will open websites, almost always fake ones. No, very rarely is somebody sending you a legitimate email with one of those attachments. And if they do, it usually means that they don't know how to take a screenshot. So action needed subject lines. Yep. And then requests for info. We all know not to send our secure info over email now, luckily, which is why they do it with links and fake websites now. So we'll teach you how to check the links that you receive in emails also in just a bit. Cool. There's some top email subjects. You can see right there the things that they are trying to impersonate. So HR stuff, password updates, more HR, acknowledge your appraisal. Those are the things that people most click because we know HR emails need to be opened. So of course they're going to impersonate that. Most common in the wild, IT. That's the other thing they love to impersonate. They love to pretend they're us because, you know, the stuff that we send to you is usually pretty important and usually needs to be done right away. And IT is known to occasionally send executable files and things like that through email. However, if you receive any important files like that from us that didn't immediately follow a phone call or some sort of alert that we were going to send that out, that is to be regarded as highly suspicious. You know, if I'm on the phone with you over a support call and I send you an email that I just said I was going to send you, yeah, open the attachment. But if that's not the exact case, it's best to avoid them. Google Forms, Zoom, Project Notices, Dropbox. They like to take the common things that lots of people have accounts on, like Google and Zoom and Dropbox. We're all using that stuff. We're all used to getting emails from the corporate there with potential things. So of course, is going to be some temptation to hit the links there. Just remember, just because it says it's from one of those things does not mean it is real. All right. And business email compromise. So here's the fun case where the email is coming from a legitimate source. You know, we all know to check the emails after we get something potentially shady. What if it's coming from the actual person? So a customer, a vendor, a coworker, somebody like that. So as we know, when a hacker or a bad actor gets into somebody's email, the first thing they like to do is go through all of their contacts and go, cool, who can I reach out to here that I can potentially scam or get money from acting as this legitimate person? If you get those weird emails, make sure if you get any strange request from somebody that you're not used to or not sure that they should be sending, call them. Call them, reach out for a different way than email because you're now suspicious that that may be compromised. Give them a call at a phone number that you know you have, maybe not the one in their email if they send you one, because that could be a suspicious one, you know, that you'll call and suddenly get to somebody else that they've hired to set up to go, oh, no, everything's fine. Just do what it says in the email. Call them at the number you know or that you've looked up online. Reach out directly and confirm that that is a request that they've sent to you. If it raises any red flags, 100% of the time, anybody I've ever checked with about stuff like that has been happy to confirm, yes, I did send that. Please go ahead with it. Rather than going, well, how dare you check to make sure that before you sent, you know, $5,000 to the source that it was actually me. People are very happy to check that secure stuff. And we are too. If you've got any emails that you're not sure of the source from, send it to IT if you are at all uncertain about whether it's legitimate or not. We love to get those emails and be able to say, yes, this is spam, delete it, don't look at it, or no, this does look legitimate. We know how to verify a lot of that stuff. If you get something that you're not sure is legit or not, here's the best way to send it to us. That will make sure that we get the most information possible to be able to investigate its legitimacy. What you do there is you will right-click the email in Outlook, hit copy, paste it into a new email so we get the whole original right there as an attachment, and then send it our way. So that'll help us verify, because sometimes in some cases, people can spoof actual emails, and that'll let us know whether something was spoofed or whether it actually came from the source. Alrighty. And then, of course, if you're looking at something going, yeah, Shane and David's training was amazing. Clearly, I know how to differentiate, at least in a lot of cases, spam and phishing emails. I know this is junk. What you're going to want to do is block the sender. So this won't stop them from making yet another free email and yet another free email and trying again, but it will stop them from trying again with the same email. And in a lot of cases with Google and Outlook and things like that, um, reporting those as spam and phishing and things like that will help their algorithms be able to filter other spam and phishing emails out in the future. So we know Google likes to have those report buttons because it kind of crowdsources their spam filtering algorithms, which is pretty cool.
Maria, I'm seeing your question of, do you have a step-by-step for Gmail users or via phone applications? So or David, I'm sorry, were you going to say something?
Yes. So what you can do there is you see in that list there on the left, that is for Gmail. What you can do is download the message there and then send the original as an attachment in the same way that you would with Outlook. So yeah, just make sure we're getting kind of the whole original email as an attachment rather than just forwarded, because the forward will come from you and then we lose a little bit of the original data. And it's okay to download the message, but not run the open or run attachments within it.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for the question.
Yeah, appreciate that. All right. Links to malicious websites. So your browser can, in a lot of cases, tell before you're about to do something potentially harmful. As we know, connecting to a website can cause them to run code. Things get downloaded. A lot of stuff happens just to click a link and open a website. So we want to make sure when you see those browser warnings and things like that, that your website you're about to visit is risky, may harm your computer. You want to be certain that what you're doing is what you think you're doing, because a lot of times the first few results in a Google search may be ads that are posed to look like a website and may actually be harmful links, things like that. Just be very careful when you see these warnings to go, hang on a second, let me triple check everything I'm about to do, that I'm going to the website that I mean to go to, that it's not a fake scam website. Um, and yeah, it's unless you absolutely know where you're going or you've been told to do so by somebody in authority or in IT, just use those warnings as a real strong indicator that something you're about to do is not right. All right. And then here is how to identify links and where they're going. So if you're in an email on a desktop computer, if you're on a website or an email or something like that, and you want to make sure that that link is going where it says it's going, hover over it with your mouse and just give it a second. It'll eventually pop up something like this if you're in email or a lot of the certain applications, or if you're in a web browser, it'll usually be down in the lower left corner. And it'll tell you exactly where you're going. So in this scam email right here, says it's going to americanexpress.com, or with a nice click here link, you can see where that's going is a pianco.com.br, which is a Brazilian website and certainly has nothing to do with American Express. And you can start to think, yeah, wait a minute, this is looking a bit shady. Maybe I should send this to IT or just delete it. Cool. If you're on a phone, what you're going to want to do is long press on the link, pull out your phone here, tap on the link, hold down on it for about 3 to 5 seconds until that little thing pops up there. Make sure you don't just tap, because that'll take you there, but hold down on that until you get the more info on what the link is, where it's going, and make sure that it is going somewhere safe and where it says it should be. All right. And then, of course, look for the lock. We were talking about how earlier over maybe an unsecured Wi-Fi connection or something like that, information could be sniffed out or stolen. Um, what that lock there, that HTTPS means, is that is a secure connection to the website, and it's going to make it a lot harder for your information going back and forth from that to be stolen. So your stuff's encrypted. Doesn't necessarily guarantee that the website's going to be safe or everything on there is going to be good, but it does mean that it's going to make it harder for somebody to spy in on that connection or steal the stuff that you're entering on that website. So if you're logging into your bank, financial institution, something secure, look for the lock.
Okay, this is my favorite question. You receive an email from Shane Caffrey at Lee Shannock with the subject line, IT security update required ASAP. What should you do? I'm going to switch over to the quiz. And I don't just like this because it has my name in it. Okay. So do you download the attached file quickly to minimize the time you are vulnerable? Check if the sender's email domain matches at leishanok.com. Ask your coworkers if they received it. If it was sent to the whole company, that's a good indication that that's okay to download. Oh, where did that go? Hover over the links to see where they'll take you, or send to Lee Shanok IT support for verification. There's more than one correct answer here, so you can select multiple answers. Okay, I think we got just a couple more people. Very good. Okay. I think just about everybody's in there. So, good news is nobody got the obviously wrong answer of download the file immediately, right? Clearly, that's not what you want to do. Um, Checking if the sender's email domain matches at leishanok.com. Now, that is a good start, but it's not the only indication. Emails can be spoofed, and it happens to our emails as well. What that basically means is somebody can send an email that looks exactly like it's coming from at leishanok.com. The only indication that you would ever see is that your email provider will say, we're not 100% sure that this is actually coming from at leishanok.com, but that is such a tiny little disclaimer that most people miss it. So the email domain is not the foolproof method, but it's a great place to start. Sending to Lee Shanok IT support for verification, right? Attaching that email especially is the best method for doing it. That is your best answer there. That is the foolproof method. Well, we're fools sometimes, so maybe not foolproof, but that is the best method for us to take a look, especially when it's coming from us. Hovering over links to see where they'll take you, again, a great indication. What if the hacker was smart and set all the links to just go to leishanok.com URLs? Or maybe there's no links at all. Just because the links are going to a legitimate location doesn't necessarily mean that an attachment, for example, isn't going to hurt you. Asking coworkers if they received, if it was sent to the whole company, download the update. That is not correct. Often, remember, those hackers are going after contact info. So if my email was compromised, for example, and I had everybody at the company's email address, which I do for some of our clients, and they send it out to everybody at the company, checking around with others to see if they received it is not a very good method to determine whether or not it's legitimate. There is one other secret hint that I hope you're paying attention to. This goes back to social engineering that should raise a red flag for you. And that is looking at my name. You receiving it from me, Shane Caffrey. I am from your IT company, Lee Shanok. Why would something coming from me with an IT security update required, why would that be a red flag? And if anybody has an idea, feel free to unmute yourself or throw it in chat. Or if you just want to think it to yourself, I'll give about 10 seconds. Anybody feeling brave?
Maria's got it
Oh, Maria?
in the chat.
Oh, I'm not seeing the chat.
Oh, yeah, she says you are in marketing.
You are 100% correct, Maria. Yes, very, very, very good. I am the marketing director. There is no reason that I should be sending anything out of the IT security update. So yes, I introduced myself as the marketing director at the start of these presentations. My ugly mug is on that first title slide with marketing director. They don't let me touch the technical stuff, and it's a good thing they don't. So, very, very good. Those are other clues to look out for. Who is this person and why are they sending it to me? Okay, jumping back in. There we go. Oh, hello. All the way back. Okay, smishing, vishing, and spam calls. So smishing is a funky way of saying SMS phishing, which is a funky way of saying phishing attacks done over text message. Um, you might receive a text like this example on the right. If most of your IRS payments are going towards penalties, call us at this number, make the most of your money, reply out to opt out. Well, they're not necessarily posing as the IRS, but still sort of a suspicious message. If it's not phishing, then it's definitely some form of spam. Uh, you don't want to click on any links that are sent over text messages. You don't want to download any attachments. Calling the phone number might be staffed by hackers who are going to direct you to a malicious website or order you to do something. Um, pay your taxes and gift cards. Most people know not to do that. Yeah, that's a good point, David. Yeah, this time of year, IRS scams are aplenty. Um, when you receive these texts, you don't want to reply or call the phone number. If you reply, even if you reply without to opt out. Now, all marketing text messages, I am in marketing, so I know these rules. All marketing text messages have to have some sort of out to opt out, similar to the unsubscribe link in your email address. However, if you reply out to a malicious text message, all that is doing is flagging you as an active phone number that is staffed by a person, or not staffed, but owned by a person, checked by a person. So it's best not to reply to these messages. You can forward it to SPAM, which all of the mobile providers have that. Um, Forwarding it to spam flags it to the Verizons, the T-Mobiles of the world that this is a spam number and they're using it to try to defraud their customers. So they'll mark it as a bad phone number. Then go ahead and delete the message. Do not reply. Do not call the number. And Arnaldo, I saw your tip in there. That's correct. Social Security, they're not going to be sending you an email that says, or a text that says, "Hey, your payment's delayed," or we found a lot of money for you. Call here to claim." Right? They have certified mail that they're going to communicate through. Vishing is voice phishing. Now, that's somebody who might call you, lead you to a fake website where you enter your credentials, which are stolen, similar to the MFA call scam that I mentioned earlier. I call you up and say, "Hi, I'm Shane. I'm from Bank of America. We noticed some suspicious activity on your account. Let me email you a link and you can verify those transactions." I send you to a fake website that has a list of transactions that say, "Oh, hey, this is bad. I never made these transactions." Well, everything I put on that website is fake. So obviously you never made those transactions. Okay, great. I just need to get your account number to verify, and I can go ahead and lock this down for you. They get your account number, maybe they get your password. They like to use that FUD, fear, urgency, and doubt. Remember, like David said, they want you to act before you can think. Hey, you need to do this now. A good tip to recognize anybody who's trying to attack you through vishing is if you say, "You know what? Let me hang up on you. I'm going to call the main number and just get this verified." If it's a legitimate call from a service you use, they'll say, "Not a problem. Go ahead. I understand." If this is somebody who's attacking you, they will do everything in their power to try to keep you on the line. "No, no, no, don't hang up. If you hang up, you're going to lose all your money. You have to do this now." Very, very good sign that not a reputable business that you're dealing with. And spam phone calls, more of an annoyance than a threat. We're all getting a ton of spam calls. The bad news is We don't have a great recommendation for you to stop spam calls, but we do have a recommendation to keep you a little bit safer. Don't answer the calls, decline them. If you're worried that you may have missed a call, or you may have declined a call that was important, you can reverse look up the phone number. There are 1,000 sketchy reverse phone lookup websites out there. www.reversephonelookup.com is a better one that we have found. It is free. Some will charge you, some are just plain sketchy. We wouldn't recommend sending you there. But this is one that we found that is halfway decent. Blocking the caller too. You can block it on an iPhone by going into the call details. iPhone, block the callers at the bottom left. Android, block the caller is on the bottom right. Okay, last few topics, and we will get you out of here.
All right, let's talk updates and patches. So for your business devices, most of those are handled by your IT company. So if that's us, we will handle patching those and updating those on a regular schedule. Of course, your personal devices are a little bit different. When you go home, I'm sure you've got a bunch of things that are connected to the internet and may not have been updated in quite a while. So the fun thing now is with all these smart devices, you've got your light bulbs, your toasters, your vacuums, your thermostats, all of these things that now have IP addresses, are connected to the internet, and may be insecure. So you want to update all of those, unfortunately. Um, the most key things are going to be your most vulnerable and most external devices, like your routers and your modems and things like that that are connected directly to the internet. Those you kind of want to start with, but it'd be good to hit everything in your network. So the easiest way to do that, find the IP of your device. That's almost always either on the device itself or in the settings somewhere. You can fiddle around until you find network settings and figure out what that IP is. Go into your computer, pop that IP address into your web browser, just like you would any normal URL or website. And that should bring you to a login page. Log in there with the credentials for that device. Hopefully, they are not the default credentials that you can Google. If they are, Google them, put in the default credentials, and then update them to something else. Because that means if you can log in by just Googling what the default credentials are, anybody on your network can do the same. So you want to make sure that those are different credentials that you've saved, and then your personal password manager, like we said. And then pop those in there, log into the thing. It'll have somewhere in settings where you can update it. Hit those firmware updates, get them updated to the latest. Do this maybe every 3 to 6 months. It doesn't need to be a super common occurrence, but you do want to make sure that you're at least fairly up to date with the latest patches. Maybe do it a little bit more on your router, because that's going to be the most vulnerable thing. All right, and then Windows updates. As we know, Windows will reboot at the most inopportune moment to install updates, but we should still do those anyway. The cool thing is you can often schedule those on your computer to go, hey, just do it at night, do it at midnight when I'm not on this thing, or, for some of us, do it at 2 a.m. when I'm not on this thing, to make sure that it gets those updates without inconveniencing you, but you really want to make sure you have them, because those are often critical security things, and sometimes just make things run better and crash less, which we like. Web browser updates. Those all need them too, and those all are also pretty automated as well. Most of them will pop up nowadays. What I see is they pop up a little blip in the corner by the menu that says, hey, there's a new update. Just restart your browser. You hit the button, it closes the browser, it does the update, it pops it right up to exactly where you were. It's barely even an inconvenience. Just do them when you see them. If you're told that there's a critical update that you need to check for immediately, you can manually do so. Most of them will have it somewhere in their menu in like the help section, about. It'll have the version there. It'll have a little button that you can hit to check for updates right then and there. So if you're alerted by your IT company to do so, just do that method right there. Go to About, check for updates, install the new update, close it, reopen it, you're good to go.
Okay, thumb drives. You find a thumb drive on the ground. It says, hey, there's a bunch of Bitcoins in here. You go, hot dang, I'm going to be a Bitcoin millionaire. Chances are that is a virus. USB drives are set up in a way that can bypass some security features on your PC. So they are a really clever way that hackers use to infiltrate networks. Sometimes they label them, they leave them on the ground. Sometimes they're giving them away. Sometimes they are mailing them. The example here is CDC. Somebody was pretending to be the CDC saying, plug this thumb drive in for new guidance on the coronavirus pandemic. And hapless business owners would plug those in and get compromised. Anybody, even non-technical people like myself, barely technical people like myself, can watch a YouTube video and learn how to turn a USB drive into an attack vector. So do not plug a thumb drive in that you don't recognize. You can send it to us. We are able to plug them into what's called a sandbox environment. Basically, it's just not connected to anything, and we are able to see what the USB drive is trying to do. Okay, our last knowledge check question. I'm just going to leave it here on the slide. I'm not going to jump into the Slido. True or false? My coworkers and I are the ones who will be most likely to make a mistake that results in a breach. Feel free to unmute or just put it in the chat. True, 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 true. I'm seeing some trues. Anybody thinking it's false? Trues. Yes, of course. We can't end a security presentation without making you feel bad about yourself. I wrote this question to be both true and false. It is true in the sense that human beings are the most likely to commit an error. Uh, the way it is false, my coworkers and I, not you, you attended a cybersecurity awareness training. You're too smart to fall for the tricks, but your coworkers, they are still woefully unenlightened. So the next time we have a 101 training, this is for everybody. So please feel free to invite your coworkers, invite your team. If you are a Leashonot contract client, David and I do these for you at no cost, on an in-person basis. We can come do a presentation. We'll do our song and dance. We can also keep it virtual if you want to keep us far, far away, but we'll customize it to your environment. So we can get your whole team trained all at once, and you can check the pretty box on your cybersecurity insurance requirement that says, are my users trained? And you can say, yes, Shane and David did such a great job. So that's my pitch. You are all smart. Next time, let's make others smart as well. That is all we have for you. As always, we will be sending certificates of completion. We'll be sending the individual certificates for you. Those company certificates are available when we do the company-wide presentations that David and I do. So we can get you a piece of paper that is official. Are there any questions? Thank you so much. Thank you, Stefan. Let's see. I'm going in through the chat, just making sure I didn't miss anything. No, it doesn't look like it. Oh, Jenny did ask a question. Are you providing a copy of the slide presentation? Jenny, great question. We do not do copies of the PowerPoint itself, but we do have this presentation recorded, and that will get uploaded to our YouTube channel. So you can send it to whoever needs it, and they can watch it on demand as needed. Of course, you're very, very welcome. Is there anything else? I'll take that as a resounding no. If you think of anything, as always, that events. Can you repeat the reverse phone thing? Oh, yeah, great question. So that is reversephonelookup.com. Let me go ahead and just reshare that very quickly for you. Oh, hello. So that reversephonelookup.com, you can take a look at the spam calls that you are declining and see if that is a legitimate person calling you up. Okay, with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up because I am 6 minutes late to my next meeting. I have to attend a training now instead of give one. So thank you all so much for your time. I will be sending those certificates out. Keep an eye out. Brianna, gift cards went out, I am guessing. Beautiful as always. She is on top of it. Enjoy your lunch. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have a great weekend. Thank you all again for coming. Bye.
Bye, everybody.